The ache sets in deep, and I wonder if tonight's the night the world sees me for what I truly am. An endless, waking nightmare. A host to this wantless need. A ruiner of lives. A ghost that wouldn't die.
Lanae, Matthew. Firstly, I just want to express how much a pleasure it is for me to speak to you both again. I had to check myself. I was like, when was it? And it was May 2023. Obviously, two different individual interviews at the time. And we have a lot to talk about here, of course. But individually, I just want to get started with really the most simple thing in the world, and it's to check in and see how you're doing at this point in time. So starting with you first, Matthew, how are you doing today? And how has 2025 been treating you so far?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm doing as good as anybody can be at this point in the year over here. That's what I'll say.
Fair enough. Lanae, how about you? How are you doing? How's 2025 treating you?
Um, Actually not too great. I've been like in and out of the hospital with a kidney stone. Um, but all of that is taken care of. I'm well on the mend and I feel pretty good. So I'm hoping I have good karma for the rest of the year since it did not start off very well for me at all.
Fingers crossed. I'm glad to hear an amend. And fingers crossed, as you say, that's your bad stuff out of the way.
I hope so.
As I said, we're not too far off at being 2 years exactly since we last spoke. Obviously, interviewed Matthew separately, and Lanae interviewed you and the wonderful Alice Shen in May 2023. And back then, we were obviously focusing on a horror short called Real Cool Time. Now, a lot of time has passed since then. A lot of things gone on in the world, and no doubt individually. So that's kind of what I want to get to next. Individually, if you would, please start with you again, Matthew. Sum up life over the past 21 months since we last spoke.
Oh man. Well, working with Lanae a lot and our partners Jake Belinsky and Emily Durkholz to make the film we're going to talk about today. That took up a lot of the time in between. Bought a house, got engaged. Just doing adult stuff, I guess. But it's been good. It's been good. Busy.
Busy, but what a good busy, right? It's
Sure.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, just kind of same old with me. I moved up to a different department in the job that I had. I work at the health department, and I was doing like vital records, birth certificates, death certificates, and then I moved up to it's a division called environmental. So I'm a health inspector. So I'm kind of like the food police. But it's cool. I like it. You know, it definitely lets me know where not to go out and eat. So
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I use that to my advantage a lot. If I go and eat in Evansville, I say, Lene, where can I go or not go? It's very helpful.
Well, here we are though, again, and time does fly by, and we're now talking about obviously a sequel to Real Cool Time. We're talking about the ghost that wouldn't die, which to summarize, and I'm going to summarize using the words that he used in the YouTube trailer specifically here, which sees plagued rock star Devin Crane, played by you, of course, Lanae, struggling to navigate her deadly affliction on tour. It's a very vague little spiel in the YouTube trailer part side of things. But of course, if you've seen Real Cool Time, you'll have at least an inkling, an idea of what we're dealing with here. So I almost like, because obviously you will have lived with this in a while. So individually, I'd like you both to have a thought about this. When you think about what you've created here right now in this moment, and you hear me mention the name and mention the little spiel there and talk about the YouTube trailer and stuff like that. What's your immediate feeling about it right now, the whole short?
The Ghost That Wouldn't Die itself.
Yeah.
Well, I can just speak for myself
Mm.
personally. I think it's the best of the three films in the series we've made. And that's my opinion. I'm very attached to it. It's a really important one to me. It's a movie that but just the setup for the movie, an artist on tour dealing with something while they're on the road, and you kind of get that internal kind of narration throughout. That's a setup for a movie I wanted to make long before Devin Crane was really ever a thing. So to get to finally do that and to get to make a movie like that was great, but also to just get to make it with my favorite people and to tell a story I really care about. It meant the world to me. And I think our team, and Lanae would probably agree, I feel like our team, her and myself, and then Jake and Emily with Center Freak Pictures, this was the project where we really, really gelled and I think became like the ultimate version of our team. So I think it's reflected in the film, and I could go on forever about it. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
No, that's fantastic. I'm pleased you feel so strongly about it at this stage as well. How about you, Lene? What's your feelings on it right now?
I'm definitely gonna have to echo Matt on it's the best one of what we've made so far. It just before it was kind of like me and Matt's baby. And with this third one, I feel like it's just with Jake and Emily like really in on the team more now than I think that they were in the beginning. It's just having them be a part of it. It's just like it's so helpful. Like they're very into it as much as we are. So you just get, a group of people together that are just so gun ho on, this thing that we made and we're so proud of it. And that I just kind of, I hate to echo Matt again, but this is like the best version of the team that, we've had so far.
100%.
I find that all so fascinating because Jake and Emily made a film. Well, I watched a film last year. They reached out to called Compression, and it was my favorite film of last year. It was blew my mind, so on. So obviously, when I see the names attached to this and their producer roles and how involved they clearly are, I was like, oh my God, wow! What I didn't realize like that link was there. Obviously, learning to know what they'd done last year and so on. It's been incredible to understand a lot more behind the scenes, like what you guys do together.
Yeah.
Just,
Go
oh no,
ahead.
you go, you
Sorry.
go, no, you go, you go, you go.
Uh,
The curse of Zoom and multiple people.
oh no, she and I do this all the time. It's okay.
Mm.
It's just digitized. No, as far as that creative process, I mean, again, as Lanae said, it is our baby, but bringing Jake and Lanae in, or Jake and I'm sorry, Emily in, um, we had so many meetings, and Jake and Emily's place was kind of our HQ, and we met so many times, and the four of us really constructed the final cut of this movie, which I'm so proud of. Everybody's fingerprints are on it. Everybody's voice was heard. And it really is, to me, a culmination of those four individuals and what they thought the best finished product would be. And to go back to your question earlier, I think that's also what lends to me loving it so much is that it's not just the story that Lanae and I wanted to tell. It's me and three of my closest friends and artists on, between the frames. So, or in the frame. And it was cool. It was a great creative process. I'd say probably the best I've had to date. I hope Lene would agree that I just think it was like the best, most inviting, and just kind of all-inclusive creative process that we've had to date, especially on the Devin Crane stuff.
I always think it's amazing. Well, I mean, with the ghost that wouldn't die, Matt's trying to tell this story, and for him to work so well with Jake, and for Jake to like capture what is essentially in Matt's brain, I think is just very, very interesting just to see them work together. Like he'll be like, this is kind of what I'm going for, and then Jake will get it and he's just like, yep, that's perfect. And it just, how well they work makes, creating art it goes very smooth. When you get a bunch of people together and like things just have the chance of, not working and not coming together. And I don't really think we experienced that with this one, because Matt had a vision and Jake is just so talented and they're so close. I think they kind of like share a brain sometimes. And it was just really amazing to see them work together and to like bang this out almost, I don't want to say effortlessly, but pretty effortlessly. It was just kind of pretty cool.
So you're both able to reflect on the entire process. We're just talking the bigger picture and the whole process as a whole. When you're reflecting it in a more relaxed, very positive, not saying, as you said, it was an easy process all the time, but it feels like it was.
Yeah.
I feel like it was easy. There was, I feel like we encounter this a couple of different times. At least we did with Morbid Colors too, was the weather. Sometimes the weather doesn't always cooperate with you, and out in the cold and the rain. We did that a couple of times with the Ghost That Wouldn't Die. But other than that, I think it was pretty easy. I don't want to like jinx anything in the future because we just had such a good go of it with this film. But yeah, it was pretty chill, and it came together very easily.
Yeah, I think production was really easy. For the most part, all the pieces kind of came together as we wanted them to. I think we shot this in like 2 weekends, right, Lanae? Two
Yes.
weekends with like maybe a pickup date or something. So yeah, it was one of those great occurrences. And Real Cool Time was really the same way. We shot that in 1 weekend where everything, like the prep was there, the conversations had been had, and the confidence in the team and who you're working with was there. And yeah, we just went in and did it. And everybody, I don't know, everybody just gelled together and made it happen. It was really cool.
Never complain about hearing about a smooth process, and long may that continue with whatever you do in the future. But I am
Thanks.
going to now direct a few at you individually. So let's start on with you, Matthew, because I want to talk about
Yeah.
the origins of the Ghost That Wouldn't Die. And it's really about at what stage you thought when this started to come together, where this idea was first born, the spark bloomed, as it were, and how soon after
Sure.
Real Cool Time?
Yeah. So like I said, the idea of doing a movie like this, I think I had in like high school or college when I was reading all of the Henry Rollins tour diaries of like Black Flag, like Get in the Van and stuff like that. That's where a lot of that idea came from. And then it got kind of rekindled again recently with like Bret Easton Ellis has a book called The Informers, where it's kind of split up between these different characters, and one of them is a guy who thinks he's a vampire and kills people, and the other one is a rock star who's on tour and in a hotel, and he's kind of on the downward swing of his career, and he does really awful things. And I think some of that nucleus was always there to be like, man, I want to do something like that. But as far as coming up with the Ghost Who Wouldn't Die, for me, it was on the ride home from shooting Real Cool Time. We had such a strong experience on that movie, and especially the four of us, myself, Lanae, and then Jake and Emily, we all worked together so well, and we all had such I think, an undeniable time, and I think we were all very proud and very excited about what we were doing. That I mean, on my way home, I was living in Tennessee at the time, and I had a 6-hour drive. And by the time I got home from that shoot, I was texting Lanae, I want to do this movie. I want to do all these things. I want to make a fake band, and I want to do all this stuff. Are you in? And she's like, well, yeah. And then that was it. It was that simple. So I think that's really how it started. We made Real Cool Time as a standalone. It was never supposed to go beyond that. But we had such a strong moment. And I think when it was done, I'm like, well, I think there's more story here. And it was that quick to say, okay, we're not only going to do another one, but we're going to do 3. So that's not to spoil anything, but that's what's next. So more to come.
Lanae, talk to me about getting that text then and getting re-involved. What was your initial feelings on basically reprising that role potentially when you first considered it going forward, the role of Devin Crane?
Um, I love Devin. I feel like she has so much to her. She's completely different for me, so it's kind of fun to play like a character that's more reserved and that has like all of this inner turmoil. And when he was just like, "Hey, I feel like there's more to this. Like, would you be willing to jump back in the universe and like expand it more?" And I was like, well, absolutely, absolutely. It's just she's such a good character, and everybody that's involved with it I love so much. Any opportunity for us to work together again and just tell more of the story, I was just like completely down for it.
Yeah, and I think if I can just jump in real quick, I don't want to embarrass her, but I think it's important to state that like without Lanae, this movie wouldn't happen. The next one wouldn't happen. The one before it wouldn't happen. Her work in front of the camera and behind the camera as a producer, as a creative force, without her, the whole ship sinks. So going back to that text, I was really relieved when she said yeah. And I don't know. It's just good to have such a solid team, and I think that's really the strength of these movies. And yeah, I just wanted to add that. She won't say it, but I will. Without her, we nothing. Go ahead.
What was the original vision though? What did it look like, and how did that sort of begin to transform into what we would eventually get? I suppose, well, how close is the final product to your original vision?
Me,
Yes, please.
it's spot on, and that's all you can ask for. Like when you, I will say it evolved because originally I think it was a week in her life instead of just one day.
Hmm.
And Lanae and I were kind of looking at that and saying that's a lot to produce because for me, authenticity is everything. And we have to make the viewer believe that this is a real band. They're really on the road. They're really traveling. They're really doing it. And with the resources that we had, I think that was going to be much more feasible doing it in a day than an entire week on the road. That would have been just a hair more ambitious than I think we wanted to dive into. And I think it works a lot better as a day because Real Cool Time is a day, The Ghost That Wouldn't Die is a day, and I kind of like it being the most pivotal days in Devin's journey of vampirism. So it seemed to fit our theme pretty well. So we got
Okay then. Well, let's do this from both your perspectives. And we'll start with you, Lanae, in this one. Both your perspectives. Talk to me now about the portrayal of Devin's affliction. Obviously, we got kind of danced around spoilers to a certain degree, but ultimately, there's no secret that it is about a specific affliction. A unique take on addiction is at its core. So we'll start with you, Lanae. Talk to me from your perspective about that portrayal and how you do it.
Um, I mean, I just kind of try to prepare myself. I kind of try to get in Devin's mind a little bit. We've all had, trials and tribulations in our life and, feelings of desperation. I personally probably haven't had it at the extent of what, Devin has, but I just kind of try to pull from my own personal experiences, my own life, my own worries and problems, and just kind of like try to amplify that. Like how would she feel in a situation, or like how would I feel in like a similar situation, and just kind of like make it bigger because she's obviously going through something that's like completely crazy, and she just trying to I think she's just trying to hold on to that little bit of humanity that she has, and she feels really lost. I think we can all relate to feeling lost, so I just kind of try to get in her headspace and make it work as best as I can.
From the rock star perspective, because of course you're balancing that aspect, but we've also got to portray it someone who's a rock star, who has that vibe, walks that swagger and style, and that comes through very, very strongly. Do you have any particular inspirations for that side of the character and how you wanted to portray that part of it?
I kind of tried to do like, I guess, like the anti-rock star. Something that we all got together and watched was and I'm gonna completely space on the name. It was the Kurt Cobain documentary. Matt, help me. What was the name of that we watched?
I didn't want to be rude and interrupt, but I was dying to. Montage of Heck.
So that was a little bit of the inspiration about kind of what Devin's going through and that underlying addiction, I guess, if you will. So I used a lot of Kurt Cobain as an experience. Even when we were filming and we did like the concert scene, the music that we played in the background for us to, fake perform to was a bunch of Nirvana. So once I kind of had it in my mind that that was what our inspiration was, I just kind of tried to get into that. I with Kurt Cobain, he just kind of he hated the limelight, but he loved music and he loved performing. So I just kind of tried to embody that because that was the inspiration. And he just kind of had that like effortless, like you just said, the swagger of it all. And he wasn't necessarily trying to be that way. It was just natural. And that's what made that band so successful. So I just kind of truly tried to channel him a lot, I guess, while we were making this last one.
There are a lot of parts of it that staggered me, none more so that my own investment goes for 20 odd minutes, and I believe this character is every bit the rock, punk, whatever star that's supposed to be portrayed as. I deal with a lot of music. Music is predominantly the bread and butter of our website and everything, and gigs and shows and different styles of bands, from big ones to small ones. So to watch something and in a 20-minute sort of wraparound, understand and see and believe that this person's a rock star, a musician, a punk, got that punk attitude. It's simply it's fabulous. Yeah, that's it. Fabulous.
Thank you very much. That's really what we wanted so badly, was for it to feel, as I said before, real, authentic. You can believe it. You can buy into it. It feels like it could be a real band doing this. And yeah, a lot of work went into trying to make that as believable as can be. So to hear you say it, as much music as you work with, that's a huge compliment. So thank you.
No worries. But let's go back a bit to the kind of original question I was asking, what Lanae started with, and your perspective now, Matthew, on this portrayal of Devin's affliction and this kind of unique take and addiction.
Yeah, so I all the way back to Morbid Colors through Real Cool Time. I think even more now with Ghosts That Wouldn't Die. There is a lot of talk of like the themes of addiction and what we were talking about, and to me, I never set out to make a movie about substance abuse because I've never done substances, and I feel like it would be disrespectful or disingenuous for me to take a movie in that way. But to me, it's about being addicted to another person that is not good for you. Or a relationship that is not good for you. The blood is what connects them. So it's about her addiction to Micah Murray, her foster sister, to me. However, if anybody else sees it and wants it to, if they relate to it in a different way, that's awesome, 100%. But for me, my way into it, as far as her addiction, was definitely expanding that need that she has for that person that she's really been unable to shed. She tries, and well, I don't want to give anything away, but she tries in Morbid Colors, and then things happen, and then that need and that loss that she feels with her grows and intensifies. So you're dealing with grief. Morbid Colors was the journey of losing someone. That's what that movie was. It's the journey of losing that person that you may love with all your heart, but they're not good for you. These shorts are about what happens after that, the residual effects after that person is gone. So to me, as far as her addiction goes, I was always looking at it from that kind of human element in things like dependency, codependency, obsession, possession, stuff like that. That's kind of where I'm coming from in it. If that answers your question, I hope it does.
I appreciate you opening up, and while you've got you obviously what you may have meant for it, you're willing to let it be open to interpretation, because some of it will, for some people, be a bit more on the nose, feel like addiction, talking about drugs and stuff like that, whereas
Of
others,
course,
it
yeah.
could be deeper and stuff like that. And I think that applies to a lot of elements too, because the ghost that wouldn't die, it feels different. It looks different. Visually, sonically, it's different. This is a little special beast almost to a degree. Lots of decisions you clearly made to make this stand out in different ways. Now, I want to talk about the decision, I guess, to begin with, to do it predominantly in black and white. And I don't know, this is what I get from it. So please correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me what you meant, or just hear my perspective. Is that it's reflective of Devin's mindset to some degree, the lack of color and vibrancy in life, and how drained she is. Question mark. That's what I kind of took away from that kind of thing. But you talk to me about the black and white decision and why you felt like that was the way to go for the most part.
Yeah, I wish I had a really elaborate answer for this. You're not wrong. But when I wrote it, I didn't necessarily have the look of it in mind. I just knew I wanted to do something very different than Real Cool Time, which was very vibrant and very soaked in like red and yellow. And there, we do get red and purple in Ghost That Wouldn't Die, but I mean, it's constant in Real Cool Time. And that's what we wanted. We wanted like a bath of neon for that movie. So I knew I wanted to go as far in the opposite direction as I could. When I was writing the movie, I just kept seeing the scenes in black and white, and that's just how it came to me. And I I love Abel Ferrara's The Addiction, which is like exactly what I mean. It's just I love that movie. 90s, super gritty, super grungy, inner city. Black and white and beautiful black and white, stark, gritty, just crunchy black and white. I love it. So I'm like, I want that. But channeling another movie, one that Lanae and I love very much, The Crow. They'd originally wanted to make that movie black and white, but with the flashback moments very vibrant and red. And I always loved that idea. I thought, wow, that's really cool. They wouldn't let him, like the studio, I have heard, wouldn't let him do it. And so that's just a very desaturated look. But I love that idea. So I thought, you know what, why don't we do black and white? And then in the moments where Micah Murray appears, or, the affliction starts to take hold, we get that red, we get those colors. So but it horrified poor Jake, who loves color. When I first told him, like, hey, it's going to be black and white, crickets. He just dead. He had nothing for me. And he goes, okay, we'll make it work. But whenever we started working on it and he got it in in the editing room, he had a really good time with it. And I think because he is the colorist on the film as well. And I think he just did a phenomenal job, as he always does. Of all the movies I've made, or I've had a hand in, it's my favorite in terms of its look, for sure. I love the way it looks. So it all
No,
worked out. Like everything with me and with us, it's just a big soup of things that come together and make the end result.
no harm being pushed out of your comfort zone as well. Lanae, what was your reaction and feelings upon the black and white style?
I was like, are you crazy? I think the reason why I thought that was, like Matt said, we met so many times to go over different versions of the film until we had tweaked it into, the final product. So when we were watching everything in the beginning, once we had everything put together, Jake's known for his color usage, and it was just so gorgeous, like the lighting and everything was just so beautiful and well lit and vibrant. So I was kind of that way too in the beginning. Like, I'm just like, why are we doing black and white? And then once we had it in its final form with all of the black and white, with the pops of color, it just, I fell in love with it. I wasn't expecting to. Like, I was just like, okay, like, this is my one of my very best friends. I'm gonna respect his vision, but it really worked out, and it just kind of, I think, helped tell the story that we were trying to tell and the mind space that Devin is in, so wasn't a fan at the beginning, but once we all got it together, I was just like, this is definitely the way this movie's supposed to be.
I completely understand what you're both saying. My initial reaction upon viewing was like, okay, obviously, I don't know it's going to be fully that, but it's clearly gone for a start here, but I can't picture it any other way. And I am a color guy. I love color. I love vivid, bright colors. Neon drenched stuff, you name it. I love it. So when we do get these flash moments of color, the vividness, the brightness that comes through, it's spellbinding stuff. It transfixed me to a degree as well, and it breaks things up lovely. It creates feelings in a different way, unique feelings that aren't necessarily like connected initially to the black and white side of things, but do feel like part of the flow. What are these moments, these vivid flashes of colors, and these moments that you decided to tell a specific part of the story? What do they say to you? And you can both have a go at this if you want.
Go ahead, Lanae.
Boss man, no, you.
uh, they mean to me that for me, they were a device. They were a device to use when Micah Murray, or the influence of Micah Murray, the influence of Devin's affliction was in the room. So to me, they are the moment where Devin is able to live, honestly, because I think for the most time, she's struggling through her days. She's putting on a face. She's having to, just kind of pull herself through existence and get through those black and white days. But when she can feel the person that she loves the most, good or bad, right or wrong, that's freedom to her at that moment. So that's why it's as vibrant as it is. It's as vibrant as that release should feel to me.
Yeah, I just kind of have a different way of saying the same thing. That's when she's alive. That's when she's truly getting what she thinks she needs, what she thinks that she wants, and she's just kind of muddling through the rest of everything. And that's just what she's using to get what she wants. And that's when she feels like she's the closest to being alive.
I think it comes through. I do think it comes through. I think it's one most people understand as well because of like how disconnected it feels from the black and white initially, and then it all makes sense when you kind of see the imagery and sounds as well. Because perhaps the most spectacular thing about this film is the narration. Of course, Devin narrates the story. At times, it's like poetry, listening to poetry. So first, Matthew, why did you want the character to be portrayed this way?
Like I say, I wanted the movie to be different. I wanted just the bones and the makeup of it to be different. I wanted it to play differently. And I honestly didn't know if anybody would like it, because it is different than, Real Cool Time, which was very in your face, very much an experience. But I wanted to go as far away, as I said, from that as I could. It's just the way I saw it. The best ideas, in my opinion, that I've ever had are the ones that just came, and I can't necessarily explain them. They just, boom, that's how I see it in my head, and that's how I saw it. Also, and again, I'm going to embarrass her again. Sorry, Lanae. Lanae has the coolest voice. So I was always like, God, she'd be so good as like a voice actor and all that. I want to do something with her one day where she's using her voice in a very prominent way, like a voiceover way. But she also, and I told her this when we did Morbid Colors, that I thought because of the nuance and because of just the decisions and the thought and just those small moments and just the power that she brings to physical performance, that I thought she would be so rad as like a silent actor. So like an actor in silent films. So I thought, wow, this is a way to kind of do both of that, right? So she's narrating the whole thing, but we're also using that in just badass physicality, pardon my bad word there, the physicality that Lanae has to be able to like just tell a story with her body. And to me, I was like being able to use two really impressive weapons that we had at our disposal in like a really cool way. So that was another thing. One, it's how I saw it, and two, I had the very best person in the world to do it.
Lanae, I mean, like there's a double challenge there. You've got to bring a character to life, not only via narration, but of course you've now got to use your physicality in a way that perhaps you're not used to. Talk to me about the challenges that you faced in bringing this character to life in both those ways.
Well, with Devin, she's a reserved personality. So with there not being any dialogue except for, the narration, I kind of had to make her a little bit bigger than what we had in the past. Just like with her mannerisms, but that kind of went with, where she's at. She's in this desperate state of mind where she's kind of acting out of character. So it would make more sense for her to have like more of an exaggeration and kind of, be bigger than what she normally was. So that just kind of worked out in my benefit. I'm a very expressive, I talk with my hands. I have a really hard time, not having my feelings on my face. So it was a little bit easier for me to not be so reserved as Devin. But the narration when we were doing that, we had to record it a couple of times, which wasn't anybody's fault. But I don't like the sound of my voice, which I think is kind of normal for everybody else. So after every time we would go through the narration, I'm just like, I'm so sorry that this whole movie is just somebody or everybody having to listen to me talk. But it was necessary for the story that we were telling. The other two movies were just kind of like you're watching this happen to Devin. And with the new one, it's just like you are in Devin's mind. Like you're essentially going through this with her. So it just fit the story that we were trying to tell this time. So
In the review I've written, I'm not going to give you too much away about this, but in the review I've written, I started getting stuck. It's like 99% complete, and I might remove this part, but I kind of got stuck in a sort of video game analogy where I don't know if you play one of the a game like Resident Evil, if you know these games where it's an over the shoulder view, particularly the more modern ones, we're looking over the shoulder. I swear that's what it started to feel like for me. Like I was standing directly behind Devin Crane walking down the hallway, and I'm just over her shoulder watching, except I can't separate myself from her. It's like I have to go and watch and experience everything that's happening with it. It's just how I ended up getting stuck on it. It felt like I was stuck with it on this ride.
Well, that makes sense because I watch my fiance play just about every Resident Evil game on repeat. So maybe that was just that coming out. I don't know. But no, I always loved like it's a great example, like Black Swan, where you're following Natalie Portman through the city. Like
Oh, yep.
those images just really spoke to me. And I like to kind of do my version of that. And I like to follow. Yeah, I really definitely in this movie, I really like to follow Devin and to kind of bring that vibe into it to where you're just, and that was the idea is that in this movie, I don't think there's one scene that she's not in. You are stuck with her. You're experiencing that dread with her the whole time. You are on that ride with her. You are going to live that awful day front to back from the very beginning to the very end with her. And yeah, so I think that's where a lot of the following came in. Plus Resident Evil, probably.
It's a nice bit of uncomfortableness at times. But we should also mention, there's more names involved here. Talk to me about working with a larger cast and what you both individually experienced working with the likes of Kevin Roach, Landon Jones, Christopher McCarthy, Joel Gilpatrick, Lacy Overton, Cara Gray, to get some names out there. Obviously, much larger cast and was a real cool time. So yeah, individually, start with you, Matthew. What's it like working with them?
Oh man, we had the coolest cast for this movie. I know Lanae will agree. Like we've had the best time putting that band together, that fictional band, Devin Crane and the Ragged Way. Those guys are amazing, and to work with them, and time again as we have, because we've done a lot of work with them that not people have not seen yet. And to be able to form that unit and to make that happen and to just make a fictional band to me as a music lover with no musical talent is just the coolest thing in the world. Um, every one of those actors is phenomenal and just, I don't know, I really appreciated that. Working with Lacy Overton, who Lanae knows pretty well, it's her sister, was super cool. This was my first time getting to work with her, and I feel like she just blew every scene she was in away. I loved what she brought to that character, and getting to work with her was amazing. Kevin Roach is just he's just awesome. He's been acting for a long time. I've seen so many of his films, and he's worked with Jake a lot. And I always wanted to get to work with him. He was just on that list of, I really hope I get to work with this person one day. And he came out and did a wonderful job for us. And I can't say enough good things about Kevin. I really can't say enough good things about everybody. And I love movies like that where people show up for one day and they have a small part, but you remember them, And I feel like everybody in this movie was memorable. Preston, who played the radio DJ, memorable. Daniel Moser and Stephanie Brew, the clubbers in the beginning, memorable. Like, to me at least, I loved every performance, and I really kind of just was super grateful for everybody that came on and wanted to be a part of it. So, nothing but great things to say.
And everybody that was a part of it was just, I honestly think, was as into it as, we were. Me and Matt and Jake and Emily, this is like this baby that we're trying to get out into the world. And it was every time we had added someone to the cast, they were like so willing to do it, super into it. Everybody just did amazing, like Landon and Chris and Joe, that are the guys in my band. They just gave everything into it. Nobody has any speaking words except for Preston when we're in the radio studio, but just the little looks and the gestures, and it was just, everyone just did such an amazing job, and it was just really fun to work with a group of people that were as into it as we were.
Honestly, it really is. It is fantastic to hear that it was so much fun. It was so, enjoyable, and that you reflect in such a positive way. As much as it might be, I don't know, horror stories can be more interesting. It's just so much more delightful when it's just like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, there were, the production was easy, but I don't think Lanae would mind me saying that all four of us, myself, Lanae, Jake, Emily, I will say that 2024 was a tough year. I will say that, and I'm just going to leave it there. But I think that every one of us in our own way was going through something at that time. And I do think that, you've seen the movie. I think a lot of that I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I know for myself, a lot of that made it into the film and to the vibe of the film. And seeing someone at their lowest, I think that made it in there. But on the upside, I think that art did what art does. I think it bonded the four of us together and made us kind of this family unit to create this film and to get some of that out in it, hopefully. And again, I'm just talking for myself. But yeah, I think that it was, and Jake and I have talked about this a lot. It was a place to put some of that. And in a way, it was a method of healing. So that is another thing that I think of personally when I think about this movie. So yeah.
Incredible. Future though, you briefly touched upon it there, and I don't really want to you to sort of list off a load of plans you've got. More so much, what does the future hold for the character? And you can both take this from different perspectives if you want.
Oh, yeah, Lanae, go ahead, tell them.
Well, I mean, we've already started production on the next short that is part of the universe. We have another feature that's going to come in after that. I'm going to try to be as vague as possible because, you know, when you're making plans, sometimes what you have in your mind isn't necessarily what's going to happen. But definitely, we have a feature coming. We have another short coming. You're going to see more of the band guys in the next short. So that's going to be fun. I think that's just they've kind of been in the background a little bit. Like we had a photo shoot for Real Cool Time for my band, and the only part of that made it into the movie was we had a picture. You know what I mean? So it's something more that we're going to develop. Devin, the stuff that she was going through while she was on the road, you know, that's kind of what the next short's about. And then, you know, the next feature is going to be like maybe the final chapter for Devin, you know, so there's definitely more to come in this universe that we're building. So
Yeah.
be ready for that.
Oh, so yeah, next month. Yeah, I think, yeah, next month, Lanae and I are gonna write the next short together. So we're co-writing this time, and we're going to, yeah, try to write the best movie that we can, and we're gonna try to make, you know, a really solid trilogy of short films that tell a very clear arc for this character, and there are feature-y plans after that. So a lot to come with the character of Devin Crane. And I love to see it, man, because I love this character. And I love getting to expand that core that story and getting to, you know, I think, and I'm sure Lanae would agree, when we made Morbid Colors, none of us thought that we'd be here right now, 3 movies in, you know, with a fourth on the way, taking this character as far as we absolutely can. But to be able to do that, um, I don't know. It's a really special thing to me, and it's a treat to get to do it. So we're excited to come back, and we're going to be promoting this movie all year too. So we'll be busy as always.
It's a good, busy, and I can't wait to see what comes next in. Well, let's call it the Devin Crane universe, right? Everyone else has a universe. That's your universe now.
The DCU.
Talking about this then, this release schedules and what's the possibility of this being out this year, where it's going to be viewed, what platforms potentially, distributors, and so on.
For the short,
Mm.
for Ghost, we're hanging on to it for a little while.
Okay.
So, like with Real Cool Time, you know, we just we went out, we gave it a festival run, which we were all really happy with, and we kind of put her back on the shelf for a minute, and now The Ghost That Wouldn't Die is going to come out, and we're going to do the same thing with it. And then our third short will come out. We will do the same thing with it. And then there might be a Voltron situation where they all come together and do something more. So yeah, so we've these all of these films that we're making, they're going to be out. They're going to find a platform, but we've got bigger plans for them than just being individualized. But we do hope, as far as like some kind of release, that we do expect to be on the festival circuit with this film this spring. So people will have an opportunity to see it in the States for sure. And if you have any recommendations for any other festivals, we'd love to hear them. Because I've yet to play outside of the US. I think that'd be really cool.
I will I will email you after. I actually do have some, particularly in the summertime, that I would love. Like, it's just not ready to come ahead, but I'll drop you the links, and hopefully, because that's what I'm thinking is, obviously I'm in the UK, and obviously festival season in the US is quite different to the UK. We don't really have it, so to speak. Well, we do have some big events, some smaller ones, some things that take place that would be really, really cool to kind of see it get played over here, but potentially.
That would be a dream come true. So I would love that. We all would.
Okay, then, individually then, and Lanae, you can start with this one if you wouldn't mind. What would success for the film look like to you?
I mean, honestly, just for people to see it, it's really hard for indie films to begin with. I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily easier for indie horror or not. There seems to be like a little niche thing for it, but we don't. I'm just going to go ahead and speak for the team. We're not expecting to get like rich and famous. Obviously, that would be like super cool, and I would love that. But we do it because we love working together and we love making art. So for me, a success for the film would just be to get people to see it. Get butts and seats at festivals. Get into as many festivals as we can, and just for people to see this awesome film that I made with my friends. That would be top tier for me, is just lots and lots and lots of people to see it.
Yeah. For me, I'm the worst guy to ask because I don't know. I don't think about, to me, success is finishing the movie because it's so hard to do sometimes. But I will say with this group, I never worry about it. I used to have anxiety all the time about, gosh, are we going to finish this thing? But with this group that we have now, with this team, really, it's never. I know everybody is in, and we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it finished. For me, I think success would be realizing Devin's story to its fullest and getting to tell the story that I want to tell. It means a lot to me. It's kind of this thing that we're making, this big collection of art that the four of us are making. For me personally, it's kind of like my dream project. It's like everything I love in one big project and under one big umbrella. It's got music, it's got horror, it's got, just all the influences that I like are there. All the things that I pull from are there. It's everything that I have to say, really. So to be able to finish that, I'm far more about expression than I am career, if that makes sense. And this is the utmost version of expression that I could ever think of. And to be able to do that with my very best friends, yeah, that's the dream for me, man. That's success. And if other people get to see it, and if other people really like it, and if it finds a good home, that's just icing on the cake.
It's fabulous, isn't it, really? Of course, success is measured in so many different ways these days, to the point where it's almost impossible really to fully understand what, in the grand scheme, what success is. It's easy to go, money. Hey, money will help you and make you rich and famous and ensure you can do more projects, bigger projects and so on. But obviously that's not necessarily going to happen, because that's a damn hard thing for everyone to do. So yeah, it's great that you find that success from your place.
Totally. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a bit long here, so got one more for you.
Okay.
Basically this. I'm a strange. You don't know me, we've never met, and I've never seen a single thing you've ever done. And but I have heard the name Devin Crane, and I know it's connected to both of you. So I come up to you individually, and we'll start with you, Lanae, and I ask simply, who is Devin Crane?
Devin Crane is a semi-famous rock star that is loyal to a fault. I think that's as vague as I can be. That's just that's her. She struggles with demons like we all do. But yeah, she is just loyal to a fault.
How about you, Matthew?
Oh man, it's tough because to me, Devin Crane is me and Lanae because we created her. She's our character. I see both of us in her. But if I were to tell someone I didn't know who is Devin Crane, I think Devin Crane is everybody who's been on. I'm finding the words. Devin Crane is everybody who's been on the less flattering side of life and of personal relationships. Devin Crane is, oh man, you're really getting me with this one because it's so big. So I'm like, my mind is going through archives to try to find the words. Devin Crane is every time you lowered yourself for someone else, personified into a human being. And I'm sorry to have like all the big emotional answers, but that is what I think of when I think of Devin Crane. Devin Crane is talent and ambition and love and loyalty and power, just raw power, stifled by her affliction, which is the oppression of another. So yeah, I guess that's probably the worst answer ever, but it's the best one I've got.
That's simply fabulous. Don't ever apologize for feeling the emotions of your crowd in creation. It's passion, and it comes through, it shines through, and I'm glad to experience this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, we should remind everyone we are talking about the ghost that wouldn't die. Film festivals throughout the spring, towards the summer, and Watch the Space trailer is out, so it can give you a nice little inkling, an idea of what you can expect from it. And of course, you talked about what's going to come in the future, and I can't wait to see that and whatever else that you both do. It is always my absolute pleasure to speak to you both. So thank you for giving me your time yet again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Truly. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.